Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is the classic from 1954. Yep, 1954. It's 2 hours and 7 minutes long. This is some classic sci-fi. It's based on the Jules Verne novel, and honestly, I have to admit that I have not watched this before. I mean, I knew enough about it. I mean, I knew who was in it, and I knew about the Nautilus, and it's one of the classic sci-fi ships before we started making a big deal about sci-fi starships. This is one of the classics. Kirk Douglas, very young, very shirtless, very suave and ready to knock heads around type of adventure guy. Kind of see him as a proto Captain Kirk meets Han Solo, just to bring it into a modern reference. He's kind of got his own way. He's got his way with the women, and he's up for a laugh. He's pretty much, even when they're in San Francisco, other than the very first opening sequence, which sees a warship being taken down by this, what seems to be a sea monster. And there's a legend about this creature of the deep that's attacking ships. What is it, and why is it attacking everybody? Well, we're going to find out. But back in San Francisco, the rumors are spreading far and wide. And there's people who run shipping companies that are looking for men. They're willing to pay double just to get people on these ships so they can get their stuff from one place all the way to the Orient, to Shanghai, or whatever it is. It's just to the far east, and somewhere along those lines, ships keep getting taken down, whether it's warships or merchant ships or whatever. They're looking to get, either find this beast, defeat it, or have it just get by it, and so they can do their business. Of course, the Kirk Douglas plays Ned, and he just shows up with a bunch of women on his arm and just joking about the stories, making fun of the people telling them, and he's like, he's a harpoon man. That's what he's known for. Which, of course, when you name somebody, when you say that somebody has a specific skill, you know that it's going to come in handy later in the film. He sort of is the focus for the most part, but beyond him is a professor and his assistant. It's Professor Pierre Aronnax and Conseil. Conseil's played by Peter Lorre. Yeah. He's mostly well known for this, but he's been in a slew of old classic movies. He'll pop up whenever you look at older stuff like Casablanca and things like that. The French professor is played by Paul Lucas, and I'm not as familiar with his work as far as I know, but the two of them get wrangled in by the U.S. government to get on one of their ships and ride along, see if they can give their own observations, and basically see if they can find a way to either discover what this monster is, defeat it, and it's a dangerous trip, but they're willing to give them a free trip to the Orient, just on their ships, if they can just help them out, figure out what's going on. So they take them up. It's going to take them 3-4 months longer than they expected, but let's just say along the way, that trip's going to actually be a lot shorter than they thought. So yeah, they get on the ship. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah. And Kirk Douglas, Ned, he ends up being on the ship as well. He gets wrangled into being on that trip, and they spend like a month. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, by the way. I'm not going to do that. That would just. But yeah, they'd spend a month before they run into this mysterious sea creature, and. Well, I do have to spoil this. I mean, you kind of know from the beginning, from the very first scene, that not so much a sea creature. And if you know what the Nautilus is, you know it's the Nautilus. It's been attacking ships. Why is the big mystery? And I did not understand. I mean, I knew who Captain Nemo was, but I didn't understand, at least in the way that he's depicted in this film, I didn't realize that he's not very stable. He's not he's a genius. He's the things that he's discovered, the things he's done. He's a next century man, and this is only the 19th century, by the way. So he's doing stuff that nobody understands, and especially with the submarine. But why is he using it to destroy other ships that he comes across in the ocean? Well, I don't know if I should really tell you all that, because it's all about the discovery who this character is and why he does these things. That is the crux of the film, and how he comes into conflict with the professor, his assistant, and with Ned, and what they're basically after their ship is attacked, they're the sole survivors, and they're taken aboard the Nautilus, and they're sort of kept captive. Captain Nemo is pretty much given them somewhat free reign on the ship, because he kind of believes he's got everything under control, and there's nothing that can really phase him, and nobody can really undermine him. He knows what's going on, and everybody else on that ship, by the way, they are loyal to a fault. They're just ciphers. These guys are blank slates for the most part. It seems like it. Nobody seems to have any character whatsoever. And how far they're going to go to work for Nemo and do his bidding, you'll discover by the end of the film just how far they're going to go. I don't want to. I'm trying to be very sensitive about how I explain these things. Let me talk about the special effects. Let me talk about that. That's something for its time, 1954. The very first moment that, excuse me, the very first moment that our heroes, we're talking about the professor. Well, mainly it's Kirk Douglas, Ned, and Peter Lorre, his conseil. The assistant. The two of them sort of bond, even though the professor sort of bonds more with Captain Nemo, because they're the same intellect, the same level. The other two are a little bit more get their hands dirty, especially Kirk Douglas. Again, was Captain Kirk named after this character? How could he not be? I just realized that now. Come on, somebody with Gene Roddenberry level knowledge, tell me if Captain Kirk was named after Kirk Douglas in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, because his attitude, he's a little bit more Scotty-ish in the sense that he plays music, he plays the same song, he knows the same song, and he plays it like 3 times throughout this thing. One time he sings it to a seal, Esmeralda the seal. Yeah, he's very outgoing. He loves getting drunk, and he loves singing songs, and he loves fighting. He's a fighter. He loves having his shirt off a lot, and Kirk Douglas. You ever see that time when there are people who are like, I mean, this guy's like 1,000 years old, and he got up on the stage of, I think, one of the award shows, and he started doing push-ups, and he's like 1,000 years old at the time. Everybody's like, that is a man. That is just a kick-ass man. Yeah, he is the hero of this thing, and he's brash, but okay. Again, there's a point where he and the other guys are on the Nautilus, and it seems deserted, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Is it an empty ship? They look out the window, and one of the most haunting and beautiful and just so sci-fi moments happens when you see the crew in their underwater big, bubble-headed kind of suits, their deep dive suits, carrying what looks like a body across the floor of the ocean. what? I mean, there's so many things to unpack in that first shot, and just how it's filmed. It just, to me, I didn't think I could be surprised by this film. I just really loved that shot because it didn't say hold your hand and say, well, this makes total sense from the very beginning. It's enough. I can't imagine people watching this in 1954 or even reading the book. I got to read all the Jules Verne's books. I've been lacking in that. Sorry, I got to turn in my nerd cred. But the wonder, the amazement that people must have had in 1954 seeing this is breathtaking. And the thing is, this is not CGI. There's no CGI. These are people actually underwater. And sure, it's in a pool on a studio set somewhere, more than likely, but to me, yes, underwater, breathtaking. I get the pun, but it's just a great scene. And it's not the only scene that they shoot underwater. There's a number of scenes where the actors, or supposedly in close-up shots, it's the actors, and when you can see through the little glass. But for the most part, it's stuntmen in diving suits doing physical acts underwater, carrying things, and they didn't. I mean, yeah, I guess they had to do that. There was no other. You can't put them in front of a green screen and put wires on them and make them, pretend they're underwater. They did it, and it's kind of freaking cool that you get to see a movie that does this kind of thing, because it's 1954. Then there's a sequence where, yes, there's a creature from the deep. I don't know if I should ruin it, what it is, but there's a creature from the deep that comes in contact with the Nautilus, and it's fully practical. I mean, not to mention the fact that when they shoot things of the Nautilus, either underwater or as it moves across the water in an attack, it's physical models. Yes, it's scale, they're only so big. And there's also life-size ones for these close-up shots where they have people coming out of the hatch and standing on the ship above the water. All of it looks great. Just the design of the Nautilus, just the way they make the Nautilus not look like a plastic piece of junk floating around in the water. It's so good for 1954. You have to understand, this is almost 70 years old. It's just, it can't be applauded enough, these people that made this. The lighting on the thing, too, at night when it goes into attack mode, holy cow. I can understand why people think it's a creature. But speaking of the creature, when they come in contact with this creature, and the movie's been out for almost 70 years, so I'm going to say it's a giant squid, and it's almost as big as the ship itself, and it attacks them. They surface, and you can different characters have to battle it, with swords and harpoons and whatever else, trying to beat it away to get it off the ship. And it never looks like it's just a flailing piece of rubber. I mean, yes, that's what it is technically. But when somebody gets taken down by one of the tentacles, it looked like they fall. Yes, it's all in editing and everything else. But if I was watching this in 1954 and I was like 8, this would be my Star Wars. Holy cow, this would be my Star Wars. I would watch this thing over and over again. And the thing is, by today's standards, this is a slow-moving movie. It is a lot of sort of, for the most part, there's a lot of sort of debate and struggle with what's right and what's wrong, and who's right and who's wrong, and why and how. And it's peppered in with struggles between Ned and the captain and I can't ever say his name, Conseil's loyalties to whoever he's around, which side does he take. And it's broken up with, the scenes with the seal. There's silly little moments with the seal, and there's funny moments. But for the most part, this is a drama, and it gets real serious at times. And I have to again, I'm going to go back to special effects here. when they go back to Captain Nemo's base, I wanted to spend a day. I wanted to spend a weekend just exploring that place. And again, it's a miniature, it's a model, it's a painting probably at some point in the background. But the concept of where they were, it was. We didn't get enough spend enough time in that area in the movie, and I wanted to explore it. Somebody should be making a video game level that you can just walk around and explore it. Make an island off of Grand Theft Auto 5 or something, or Borderlands, or whatever, Fortnite. Just sort of build an entire level that just shows that thing, and you guys can shoot each other as you run around it. I don't care. I would just go there just to search it out and just explore. And there's hints that there are things there that Nemo has discovered and created that only scratch the surface of his genius. And we didn't get enough time to see there. It's the kind of thing I wish they could make a proper remake of this. I know nobody needs another remake of a classic. Do better, better than the classic already. But if done right, gosh, I mean, I don't know if you'd ever want to really improve upon the Nautilus design, or if you could. But the whole concept between this sort of demented genius hidden away on this secret island, secret escape kind of place, it just opens it up for a number of stories if done right. I almost wanted to wish they could have made him the protagonist, the main protagonist in this film. He is hardly a protagonist for the most part, and that surprised me because I didn't think that Nemo was any kind of bad guy because of the way he's talked about. But yeah, and again, maybe I'm minimizing it because there's a whole lot more to it than that to just say he's a bad guy. He is and he isn't, but he's got his own ways. He's killed a lot of people, but it shows that he feels that he's justified in what he's doing, that he's not doing things to be evil. So it's a story. I think it's a story that is the groundwork, the foundation for what could be a lot more stories. Kind of wish it could. We'll see. I mean, yes, it's Jules Verne, so I'm sure there might be more stories out there. And people have kind of used Captain Nemo and stuff. Alan Moore's done stuff with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and other things like that in comics. But I don't know if... didn't they use that in the movie, too? I can't remember if they had the rights to that. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, based on the comic. But anyway, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. If you are looking for some fun, unorthodox sci-fi from Disney, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is something you need to explore. It's a classic for a reason. And it's not going to sit with you perfectly well. It's not a perfect ending either, but it makes you want to explore more. Wish you could explore more of that world. And maybe follow Ned on more adventures. Who knows? Anyway, I think that's all I can say. Let's pick tomorrow's episode. 132. I think we had this one. But I say that all the time, and I'm always wrong. Not always wrong, but I'm pretty often wrong. Yep, no, I'm right. 132, sorry. 132 was Doctor Strange. I figured it was a doctor because we had Dr. Dolittle just before that. Nope, we already saw Doctor Strange. If you haven't seen it with us and heard my talk about it, look it up. I think it was day 119 or so. 40. Oh, that's a low one. We're getting a lot of low numbers. Oh, haha. Hey, we're going back to the Marvel Universe. Speaking of Doctor Strange, we've already had the first Avengers film, and technically We don't have Avengers Infinity War yet on here because it came in after the launch, but it does have Avengers Endgame. However, we're getting Avengers Age of Ultron. Blurry much? Avengers Age of Ultron, the sequel, the Joss Whedon directed sequel to the original. It's not the most beloved of the set, but got some interesting bits in it. Introductions of very important characters that are getting their own TV show very soon too, as well. So on Disney Plus. All right, we'll be back here tomorrow with Avengers Age of Ultron on the Disney Plus Liberty Challenge. See you then.